Beni Lew. He is currently associated with
Ariel University, Israel, and has over 20 years of research and teaching experience in wastewater treatment, agriculture-based biomass applications. Recently, Professor Lew has started a company, Tech Bulls Research and Engineering Consultants Private Limited, in India, and working on technical support and latest technologies for upgradation of STPs in the state of Haryana. His topic for today is Smart Cities, Water in Israel. So can we please have Beni Lew sir on the stage with us? A big round of applause for sir. Over to you.
Thank you all. My name is Beni. I'm originally, in reality, from Brazil. I moved to Israel 30 years ago, something like that. And in this time, I had some students from India, from Jamia, from IIT Roorkee. And so I made a good connection with India. And after my students finished their PhD, they came back to India, and we decided to open a company. So we opened Tech Bulls, and we work with water and wastewater treatment and systems here in India. And that's the reason I came here, to talk about what's going on in Israel about water and wastewater. Why is it a smart city? Why is it so important in Israel? Also, it should be important all over the world. And we have many technologies, and that's what we want to bring to India. The ways to have better water quality and don't lose too much water in the city. So I'm going to talk about smart cities. Smart cities, as you can see here, there is a definition. What's a smart city? I feel that all day long you've been hearing about smart cities, smart building, smart construction, that the person, me, you need to feel comfortable in the city. You need to feel that you have enough resource, food, job, and also that you are not contaminating the environment, that you have disposal of all the substracts, meaning you can dispose all the wastes, wastewater, and solid waste from your house. So if you have a smart city, you have sustainability, low carbon footprint, reduced waste. People will want to come to your city to live, to work, because they have jobs. They can find also, I heard here, food is not far away from your house, less than 100 meters, as I learned now. So all those things are important. But the aspect that I work in my company is about the water management. We have many aspects for the smart city. We have to look in the government, people, transportation. We have to look about the waste management, energy. Energy is also important. We have to look how to produce well energy and how people will get all this energy that they need all day long. But my main concern, that's what I work in Israel, in the university, and also here in India, is about the water. Water is a very important thing for life. Without water, we don't have life. And all over the world, people are leaving the countryside and moving to the cities. In this graph, you can see that people have been moving. The yellow, from 15% were living in the cities in the 50s. More people were living in the cities in 2007. And now more than 50% of the population all over the world, they're living in the cities. So there are much more people living in the cities. Together with that, we have in the upper graph, you can see that the number of the people in the world is growing. More people, we need to provide them more food, more water, and more everything, more energy. And they are living in the city, they are living together. A lot of people in closed space, smaller space than in the countryside. Together with that, I don't know if you feel, but people in the world, we are getting richer. Our parents didn't have what we have. They didn't have the same conditions. They didn't have the same food. They didn't have the same water quality. They didn't have the same life quality that we have. And together with the life quality comes the fact that we eat more and we eat better than our parents and our grandparents. We drink more water. So from one side, in the upper graph, you can see that the population in the world is growing, always is growing. In the lower graph, you can see the amount of water used in the world is also growing, but it's growing much faster than the population growth, because we are getting richer, even though we don't feel like that. We are richer than our parents. We have more resources. We use more water. So we need to provide more water for the population. There is no other way. So why India? Why Israel? So as you can see on the right side, we have a map of Israel. Israel invests a lot in the water. It looks like there is a cartoon Bugs Bunny that when he crossed the border, one side is green, the other side is desert. So you can see the border here between Israel and Egypt on the southern part. Israel invests a lot in the water. We don't have enough water, but we need the water for agriculture. And you can see that Israel is totally green, even though the neighbors, they don't have so much green, okay? Because we invest a lot in water. And if you compare to India, in the left side map, you can see that India is in the same situation. We don't have water in Israel. We don't have so much water in India. India is a big country. Yes, there is a lot of big rivers here. Yes, but the population in India is huge. So we need to provide, so we have a scarcity of water also in India. You can see in the map, not in all the regions, but in some parts. So just to show what's the rainfall in Israel, you can see that in the southern part of Israel, it rains around 50 millimeters, 5 centimeters of rain per year. That's nothing. That's a complete desert. Even in the north part of Israel, that we have lots of rain, it rains around 500, 600 millimeters. That's 50 centimeters of rain per year. That's not a lot of rain. So we have a very big problem of water in Israel. And because we have all these problems, we have to find good solutions for the problem. And the solution is the technology. And the technology starts from the beginning, from the water treatment. We need to treat the water. Of course, in Israel, in our company, we use all the known water treatment systems, flocculation, sedimentation, chlorination. But besides that, every time, every day, we discover new contaminants in the water. In India, in Israel, we have a big army, and the army, they produce a lot of contaminants that they get to the subsoil, they get in the groundwater. And unfortunately, this army, they don't provide so much how they are contaminating the groundwater, because it's a secret. They cannot tell us. So we discover when it's very contaminated. Also in India, all countries that they have big armies with factories working for the army, they produce contaminants, and the army don't really tell us because it's forbidden. It's a fact. Besides that, every day we discover contaminants from people. We take medicine. This medicine gets in the sewage, and from the sewage can contaminate the groundwater. Nowadays we are getting more hormones, even pills for women not to get pregnant. Those kinds of hormones can reach the groundwater and contaminate the groundwater. So we need to take care of all these things, and we need to find new ways to treat these new contaminants. Besides that, as we are getting richer, more water, we want better water quality. We don't want the same water that our parents drank when they were our age. We want the water with more magnesium. We want the water with more minerals that make our life better. So there are these concerns our parents didn't have. So also we need to take care of that, how to provide the water, how to treat the water, to provide the water with no contaminants, and also with minerals and other things that we as humans want. You can see here in Israel, The water that we need to provide for the population is always growing. From one side, in the agriculture, is reducing. We have less and less water going to the agriculture because the agriculture is becoming more technological and less area. And in the cities, it's always growing because the population is growing. As I said, the population is growing, but the water consumption is growing faster. And in Israel, at the beginning of the country, you used to drink the water from the Galilee Sea. Unfortunately, the Galilee Sea is not a Galilee Sea. It's a lake and cannot provide so much water. And then we moved to the groundwater. Unfortunately, also the groundwater cannot provide so much water. And then Israel developed lots of desalination systems. And nowadays, 50% of the water consumed in the cities come from desalination, and by another 2 years, it's supposed to be 100% in the cities, only desalinated from the sea. Okay? We need to do that because we need to preserve the groundwater, we need to preserve the rivers and the lakes. This is the desalination plant, and in Israel, they are all private companies. Why are they private companies? Because, unfortunately, or in my opinion, in Israel, they made the right decision. They discovered that politicians, they don't work so well. They don't know how to manage our money. They spend too much, and they don't always have the right decisions. So in Israel, private companies, they do the desalination, and the government pays 52 cents of dollar per cubic meters. And that's an incentive, because if the private company produces water at a lower price, they have a higher profit, and they want to produce at a lower price because they want more money. So they invest in technology, better membranes that consume less electricity, how to add more salts to the water. So they are always investing in new technologies to produce water at lower costs because they know they can have more money with that. And that's important. Also, in the groundwater, when we get the groundwater, we add some treatment because we need to provide water for the population with some chlorine because we don't want people to get sick, and with some other minerals that are important for life. The second phase for water is the transportation. After we treat the water, we need to bring this water for the population. And the population, they don't want the water today and in another 2 days. They want the water in their faucets every day, every hour, every second. And we need to take care of that. We need to be worried about that. We cannot provide water once a week. There are many countries in the world. As I said, I'm from Brazil. When I grew up in my house, there was water once a week. And we have a big container. We fill the container in this day so we could have water the whole week. And that's very problematic because population, they want water every day, and they want high quality water every day. If you put water in a container for a week, this water can get contaminated, and you don't want that. You want the pipes to be full of water all the time. So we invest in that, and how do we do that? So in the past, and in many countries of the world, the water transportation has many leakage. We don't have information about the pipe's condition. We don't have information about the pipes, the water in the pipes, pressure, quality, flow. That's what happens in many parts of the world. Also, the water is managed manually and not by computer. So in Israel, we have sensors and we monitor the water. As you can see here, this is the water pipes that transport water from north to south and from south to north. And we monitor every time, every hour, every second what's going on in the pipes. We want to know the flow. We want to know the pressure. We want to know the pipe condition. We want to know the water quality. It's important every second because if we know that a specific city needs more water, we need to bring more water to this city, and we need to know where are we bringing from. So in this map, you can see there are places that we can turn pumps on so we can have more water being pumping through the system so we can have cities having more water. There are many intelligent networks that they measure the water quality so we know live if there is any problem, any low pressure, any leakage. Because if there is low pressure, maybe we are having a leakage. And water is very expensive for us, for the environment, for people. So as soon as we see that we have a leakage, we go there to fix this leakage. We measure pressure, velocity, pH, temperature. The list is not so important. You can take a look. But you can see that we measure the pipe condition, the water quality, the water physical quality, pressure, velocity. And also, we measure the quality. What's the main problem in the water? 33% of the complaints were about the water turbidity. So we know what's being the main problem in the water quality. Also, we invest in models. There are a lot of cities in Israel, and how does the model work? The model can see if the city will need water in another 2 hours, because they know from the graph. We've been building graphs from cities, different cities in Israel. We know that once the pressure starts to grow at this rate, soon the city will need more water in another 2-3 hours. So before we get to the situation that we need the water in the city, we start to bring more water to the city. So for that, we need to build models. And all the models, they are based on the past. What happened to the city in the last year, in the last 2 years, in how the flow, the pressure changes during the day, during the week, during the year. So we know that with this change, what's going to happen, and we can calibrate and move more water to this place. So we have water, and we bring the water before we get to the situation that the people in the city are gonna say, we don't have the water. So just comparison. In the world, leakage in pipes average 25%. Most of the places in the world, between 15 and 50%. I'm sure you know this. I don't know what's the condition in Delhi, but I know that in São Paulo, I know that everybody heard about São Paulo, the biggest city in Brazil. They lose 50% of the water in the pipes. So when you produce 1 cubic meter of water, the population gets only half of that. Half of the water goes lost, and that's a lot. And in Israel, we have only 5%, because that's very important. We cannot lose water and throw water that we invested so much to treat. And also, most places of the world, the government subsidized the water. In Israel, at the beginning, the water was subsidized for the population. But with time, the government discovered that if you subsidize too much, the population starts to waste water. So you want people to think about that. So you slowly, we stop to subsidize the water. You invest a lot on commercials to teach the population in schools. Kids in schools and in kindergarten, they learn you have to close the faucet. You cannot waste the water. We don't have water. And they come home and they tell us that. When we start to take a shower, they say, close the faucet, stop to take a shower. You are wasting too much water. They learn that. That's very important. So you need to invest on that also. Also, small equipment that you have at home that you can waste less water. In the top part here is a device that you put in the faucet that they put drops of air between drops of water. So less water is coming out from the faucet, but when you put your hand below the faucet, you feel psychologically that's the same amount of water, because between each drop of water there is a drop of air that you don't see. That's very important. Also, water recycling. some parts of Israel, we are recycling the gray sewage, the gray water. So sewage in the house, we have two kinds of sewage: black sewage, black water, and gray water. The gray water is the water that comes from the sink and from the shower. They don't have pathogenics that they can cause disease. They cannot cause disease. So we can easily treat this water and reuse this water. Some places in Israel, they use this water for the irrigation around the house. They can use in the bathroom again. So there are many solutions. Another thing is that Israel got to the conclusion that since the wastewater is a kind of water, if I tell you that the wastewater is 99.9% water, only 0.1% of the wastewater is a contamination. So it's a lot of water and very little contaminants. And you want to clean that, you want to use that water. In Israel, 9% of the sewage is collected and treated. You can never reach 100%. And from this 90%, after treatment, 95% goes back for irrigation in agriculture. That's a lot. It's the only country in the world that 95% of the treated sewage goes back as irrigation. Every kind of fruits? No, not every kind of fruits. You cannot use everywhere, but you need to invest for that, okay? The conduction of wastewater. In Tel Aviv, I'm sure you heard the city, the name of the city. In the city is very flat, and once sewage flows in the pipes by gravitation, there are no pumps. So if you have any clogs in the pipe, it will flow up and the streets will be full of sewage in 1 hour. In 10 minutes, if there is any clog, there is a special team that comes to clean the clog. So for that, you need special sensors to feel if the pipe, the pressure is growing, if the velocity is flowing accordingly, because if there are any problem, you need to fix very, very fast. In Israel, we have around 100 intensive wastewater treatment facilities. We have around 10 million people. Here in India, you have 1,300,000,000. So we have 10 million people in Israel with 100 intensive wastewater treatment facilities. I'm not talking about the extensive, simple one. I'm talking about the very intensive ones that you invest a lot of money and you need to invest a lot of energy also every day. So that's a lot of intensive wastewater treatment per capita. And you need to invest in that, because if you want to preserve the environment, you don't want to contaminate the environment, and you want to use your wastewater for irrigation, you need to invest in it. So in Israel, all the treated wastewater, 95% goes back for irrigation. Also the solid waste from the wastewater treatment, because they are solids, nowadays they are going back to the agriculture because it's good for the soil. The wastewater, the treated wastewater has many nutrients. They have ammonia, they have phosphorus. Are they good for agriculture? Yes, they are good for agriculture, but not all kinds of agriculture. But they are good mainly to organic agriculture nowadays. So you need to look on that sometimes you produce a product that's not good for everybody, but you can produce a product that's good for a special group of people, organic agriculture. And organic agriculture, they need this kind of water. They need organic fertilizers because they want to produce a product that is more expensive and that you can sell to Europe, or people are willing to pay more money for that. So that's all I have to say today. I didn't have too much time. Thank you a lot. If you have any questions, I'll be around. I hope you enjoy. Thank you a lot.
Thank you so much, sir.
Smartex.